Okay, go ahead and turn to page 16 and 17 in your text Well Said, edition 3, and you can follow along with me if you would like, or you can just watch the screen. What we are going to do at the very beginning of this semester is we're going to learn a new way to learn a symbol for a sound. Now, English spelling is very, very complex, and it's kind of crazy because sometimes words that we think would have certain sounds to them don't. And so look at the page 16 and 17 as a way of learning symbols, new symbols. It's kind of like learning the periodic table when you're doing chemistry, right? Everybody's had chemistry and we recognize this. We recognize the periodic table, and for every one of these elements that are very basic and core to the existence of the planet, it's being categorized, and there's a symbol that represents that particular element. So some of you are probably quite knowledgeable on this, and each color represents a classification and category. Well, it's very similar to the English language as well. We have kind of a periodic table of sounds. Instead of elements, it's sounds. And the way we do this is so that we can classify our particular sounds in all languages so that we could all agree on one symbol to represent that sound, because spelling is absolutely ridiculous in almost every single language. So let's take a look at what we mean here. For example, let me go to this particular example. It is by AZE Linguistics, and this example is from their video, and I can leave a copy of the website right here for you if you want to look at what the YouTube address is. But they're taking a look at the CH sound, ch sound, okay? How do you pronounce ch in English? Well, believe it or not, there's many different ways to express this sound, ch. You would think that CH is always ch, but it isn't. CH could be k, as in chaos, or CH can be an sh sound, as in machine, or it could have no sound, as in yacht. The CH is silent in here. So if you are a non-native speaker of English, which all of you are, and you're trying to learn a word based on spelling, you can often go down the wrong road because we use the same characters to represent many different sounds. So that's when linguists across the world decided we're just going to create this chart like the periodic table, and we're going to say whenever you want to make the ch sound, even if it's spelled ch, we're going to, in the dictionary, we're going to put this T and this odd-looking S here, and that will always represent the ch sound, no matter which language you're speaking anywhere in the world. If it has a ch sound, then it's going to be represented by this T and this S. Now, it doesn't mean that that language is going to spell it this way. It's just going to transcribe it that way in phonetic notation. So if you go to, in this chapter, it asks you to go to a dictionary, and it asks you to look up how the word is transcribed in the brackets. Well, that is phonetic notation. That is from the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet. And so therefore, whether you speak Farsi or Japanese or Italian or Spanish, any of the languages around the world, you will always know this. If you've studied the International Phonetic Alphabet, you will always know that that sound is ch, no matter what the spelling says, okay? And in chaos, you wouldn't say chaos, because if you look at its phonetic spelling, it would be k. And we wouldn't say machine, we would say machine, because the phonetic spelling is sh. And we wouldn't say yacht, we would say yacht, because there would be no transcribed ch when we do the phonetic alphabet. So what does the IPA look like? Well, as you're studying page 16 and 17, you see this, right? You see our chart in the background here. And most of the symbols on the IPA look like these symbols in English. So the P in the IPA is the P in the dictionaries, and these all look exactly the same. So this P in the brackets here mean that it is spelled, or the slashes I should say, it's pronounced P, and then B, and then T, and then D, and then K, and then G, and then F, and then V. But now we start to change a little bit. And the reason why we start seeing these odd symbols here is because the TH in English is actually represents a few sounds. And so since this spelling can represent more than one sound, then we need to give each particular sound its own symbol. Okay? So if we pronounce th, and that you didn't hardly hear that because I'm not using any voice. That TH sound, like think, thanks, through, that TH has no voice, so we're going to represent it with this symbol, and that's called the theta symbol. So anytime we want to know if the sound in a word is voiced or voiceless, for that TH, this will tell us it has no voice, and the next one is a TH, which has one. That's pronounced th, there, them, these, those, th. So that's a TH sound, but this time with voicing. And I'm going to take you to a website here in just a second that will go through each of these sounds over and over. And not only that, it's going to tell you where your tongue goes. It's going to tell you what your vocal cords are doing. It's going to tell you where the air flows. So it will give you a nice cross section of how to look at these sounds. A sagittal view, as it's called, okay? Then we come down to the S, which is the normal expectation of the S, and then Z for Z. But then it starts to change again because the SH sound in English, now I should say the SH spelling in English can represent many different sounds. So since we want to know what sound is sh, okay, because it's not always SH, then we need to have its own special symbol. So here we have this very long and skinny S, and that will always in any language represent, if that language has it, sh. No matter how that language spells it, it will always be sh, okay, in its phonetic transcription. Okay, and then see how this S, over here the S is S, but since S is here again, we can't use this same notation because it's going to sound differently. Measure, j, j. So I can't use this S here to represent this j sound, so we had to come up with its own symbol. You see how that works? So now anytime you want a j, like genre, measure, pleasure, treasure, okay, that's going to be j, and it's going to be the very fancy, I call it a very fancy Z, okay? And then we have to do the same with ch here for the same reason that I showed you on this. It's because we have 4 different ways ch can be represented, so we need to have each sound represented separately. This CH, as we know, is the regular ch, as in chair or choose, and of course, chaos is not a ch sound. So we had to do this logically by doing that. So let's go back to here. So remember, this T plus the long S is ch. And now we have the word job, and the sound of that is j. And j has a D kind of fancy Z combination. J. It's like 2 sounds blended very quickly. And that's in judge, job, jump, jury. Okay? So j. So we're not going to spell that with the J. We're going to spell that with the, well, we're going to spell it with the J, but when we transcribe it to actual phonetics, we're going to put the DZ. And then M looks the same here, and N looks the same, N. And NG is now going to take the N and then the tail of the G. See the tail of the G there? And that's one sound in English, okay? So it doesn't exist in all languages, the sound. In fact, we don't have at the beginning of the word. We usually have in the beginning or in the middle or at the end of the word, like singer, okay? Finger, song, all right? L is same, L, and R is same, R, and W is same, W, and Y is same, Ya. But I will tell you that sometimes the Y in some charts is actually written as a J. So if you ever see that as you come across dictionaries or some IPA charts, some will put the Y sound and they'll write it as a J. But for this class, we're going to use Ya here, okay? And then for home. So this is all our consonant sounds. And it's just, that's not too many symbols to have to know, because you know most of these. But it's some of these odd symbols, maybe 6, 7, 8, that you have to get used to, okay? And then with the vowels, we have, this is the most confusing for students because the vowels really look differently in phonetic transcription than they do in spelling. Now this one you'll recognize, H-E, he, but when we transcribe it, it will look like an I, and that's what's confusing. So that's why we don't rely on spelling. We rely on symbols, but you'll have to get your mind used to figuring what is spelling and what is the symbol for the sound. So E, and that's the phonetic transcription. And the book is going to put a Y there, but I am going to show you a vowel chart that's easy to memorize, and we'll be working on that during the class as we go along, where we just use the I symbol for the E sound, but Y is perfectly fine too. Both represent the same sound. And then if you want the short sound, hit, it, then we use a capital I, okay, it. And then for the A sound, and this, it confuses so many students because we expect an A to give us the A sound, and yet we use the E in phonetic alphabet. You may see it as an EI, but we use the E, A. So phonetically, E sounds like A, as in may, or play, okay, or tray, or say. Okay, then we have the S sound, and that is the epsilon, and it's the backwards E, fancy E, so eh. And then the A sound, as in mad, or bat, or cat, or fat, ah. And that looks like an A and E together, okay? And then we have an sound. It's as in bird, or curd, or herd, okay? It's an ER together. The book is going to use that. You'll see it on the phonetic vowel chart, often like this. The R takes most of the sound, but it has a little bit of that vowel, so it becomes okay? Then we have the sound, that's the most common sound in English, it's called schwa. It's this upside down E. It's the schwa, And it's like someone hit you in the stomach, and you go, okay? As in sofa, cupboard, okay? But the caret here, we call this a caret or the upside down V. That is also the sound, like the schwa, but it's stressed. Like if you cut your finger, it has more of a strong sound. So you see these can be used interchangeably, okay? They both have the sound, and they're both it's the most common sound in English for the vowel, all right? And then we have as in father, bother, okay? And then the oo sound, as in to, and glue, and blue, and shoe. And again, the vowel chart that I'm going to show you doesn't necessarily have the W, but you will see it both ways. It just shows that your lips are more rounded when you say this ooh. And then as in good, 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 okay? Or put, or foot, okay? Then the O sound as in know and go, flow, show, very common sound as well. The W just means that your lips are rounded when you say that O. Okay, this is said in English. It is not common in the Western United States. It's very common on the East Coast, but we do have it in some words on the West Coast. But it's oi. It's not oi because that's a diphthong, but we have o. It's a very rounded o. It's like ah, but you close your lips around that sound. O. Okay. Hot, caught, shot. That's if you're on the East Coast. It's more of a Bostonian accent. Okay. But we do have it in crawled, like your baby crawled across the floor. Crawl, crawled. Okay. It's an ah sound with rounded lips, basically. And then these last three right here are what we call diphthongs. And diphthongs means it is di, meaning two sounds together. So some of our vowel sounds in English are blended together, so it's two sounds that become one, but it's lengthened. So you can kind of see it in the word. This is the I sound, like fine, I, pie, shy. Here is another example of why we should have the phonetic alphabet. Take a look at this chart right here. This is from EnglishForKids.com. It's from their example, so if you want to check out their website, they have some cards that are in this format that are very helpful in seeing why it is that spelling can confuse us as far as what sounds the combination of letters make, which is why we need a symbol. Now, the AI symbol, as you know, is the diphthong, I. It has the sound I. And if you look at all the examples, the first row has the letter I, which is sensible, ice and kite and library, and then down below diamond, and then over lion. But look at I as in the eye on your head. That is spelled E-Y, E. So the EY combination can give us the I sound, and the letter I can give us the I sound. And if we come down here, the word tie, I-E, so the I-E can give us the I sound. And moving further down, I-G-H can give us the I sound, as in highlighter. And then the simple Y can give us the I sound. And then UY, as in guy, can give us the I sound. And then YE gives us the I sound, as in goodbye. And then AY, A, as in papaya, gives us the I sound. So again, as a non-native speaker to the language, if you are trying to, and even with children who are native, if you're looking at all the different spelling combinations that can make up the word or the sound I, can be very confusing. So here, if we, whatever word that we are trying to pronounce, instead of just looking at its spelling, if we put it in its phonetic transcription, sound for sound, symbol for symbol, then you will know exactly how to say the word regardless of the spelling. And this is the ow sound, as in now, cow, how. And that's represented by an ah and an So these two symbols, when you see these two symbols together, you know you have a diphthong, meaning two vowel sounds that have been blended. And the last one is the o sound with an I, and that becomes oi, oi, boy, toy, okay, koi. So those are, so we have I, ow, oi. I, ow, oi. Now, these are the symbols that you're going to get used to. Again, once you learn the symbols, then you will be able to take any word from any language and look at its phonetic transcription and know exactly how to say it. I can look at a Japanese word and never have heard a Japanese speaker say that word. And as long as you give it to me in phonetic transcriptions, like what's in these slashes, I'll be able to say it, albeit I'll have a little bit of an American accent, but I'll be able to say it because I will know that that sound and that symbol is represented the same across the world, no matter how it's spelled. Okay, so what we're going to do next here is I'm going to show you how you can go practice all of these sounds and symbols in a website that you'll use.